Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, I want to bring to you this heartbreaking story about a mother who is in serious pain right now, emotionally, over her daughter, 13 years of age, on life support 2 days after a school fight. And this was outside of a middle school. So, this woman may be losing her child or may have lost her child. And so this is a scary situation, but I'm revealing that these schools don't have enough supervision. And, we've already seen that some of the schools, even with supervision, they don't have the right type of supervision because they've had school shootings where people have not really intervened, or have not been equipped to intervene. So these schools have a lot of open um, situations where the children are like targets for, terrorism, targets for situations such being pedophilia, um, and also being exposed to harm done during a fight. And so, with this situation right here, it's really sad. And we just had a situation that happened in South Carolina where a girl lost her life in a classroom fight. And she was much younger than 13 years old. And they pretty much wanted to let that story go and make it seem as though the girl had pre existing injuries that was the cause of her death. Well, this situation right here, the woman is crying out. She's saying, I'm losing my baby, 13 years old, on life support 2 days after a fight outside of a middle school. And this is by Hope Schreiber. And so this is the mother pictured here. And she's very sad. Um, so a 13-year-old girl is on life support in Texas Children's Hospital 2 days after three girls had attacked her outside of the middle school in Houston. So the Attucks Middle School student, her name was Kashala Francis. She told her mother, Mamie Jackson, that on Thursday she was attacked by two girls after school, and at some point a third girl had jumped in and kicked her in her head. So Jackson was able to see the bruising on her daughter's face, but the seventh grade student that told her that she was okay. Okay, so that right there was unrelated. So on Saturday, Kashala was at a family member's house where Jackson's niece said that the young girl was delusional, but then returned to normal all of a sudden. So on Sunday, Kashala was complaining of a headache, weakness to her mother on the phone. So I drove over and told her to get up. I said, Get up, Kashala, she kept saying. And Mama, my head hurts. Mama, my head hurts. So this is what the girl was telling her mother. So she laid down, Jackson told ABC 13. So Kashala did not open her eyes again. And when first responders arrived, she was unconscious by that time. So the Texas Children's Hospital doctors found a brain tumor that Kashala's family did not know about, and as well as fluid buildup in her brain. So it is unknown whether the tumor was here we go again, pre-existing, as well as the fluid buildup on our brain, a pre-existing condition. I had to stop myself because it sounds exactly like the story in South Carolina. Okay, excuse me for that. Okay, so it is unknown whether the tumor was a pre-existing condition or a result of the fight. The family's Facebook donation page, which has been set up to help pay for Kashala's medical expenses, reads, After multiple surgeries, the doctor stated that there is nothing that they can do for Kashala and that she has been pronounced brain dead. So basically, the girl is on life support and they're trying to see if they can bring her back. And what happens with life support, eventually the parents or the family members will have to make the call whether to take her off life support or not. All I know is that my daughter was perfectly fine before the fight now, and I'm losing my baby, Jackson told ABC 13 through tears and heartbreak. So nobody knows how that feels. Well, there is another woman that knows how that feels. She's in South Carolina, and they told her daughter the same thing. They told her and her daughter that she had pre existing injuries. And so they pretty much let that go and made it seem as though that they removed the kids to another school. So somebody else dealt with something very similar to this. And so both Houston and the Houston Independent School District police departments are investigating the incident. So a representative for the Houston ISD, or Houston, which is HISD, did not immediately respond to Yahoo Lifestyle's request for comment, but they did provide the following statements to ABC 13. The district is aware of several Attucks middle school students who were involved in an off-campus altercation on Thursday, so the HISD is gathering information and cooperating with the Houston Police Department in the investigation. Okay, so it's the Houston Independent School District. That's what the IHSD is. So that's pretty much the article. So I'm going to play the video without further ado. And it's very heartbreaking, so I must warn you, but if you're sensitive, but this woman is crying out because her daughter is on life support.
So I can see these girls keeping her in her head while the children are laughing at her. All I know is my daughter was perfectly fine before this fight. And now I'm losing my baby. Don't nobody know how that feels to have to bury their child. She's 13 years old.
So that's pretty much the video right there. It plays also a commercial that's unrelated to it, but that's a sad revelation of this story. There was a story that was not too long ago that I did a report about, and as a matter of fact, that sounds extremely similar to what that story I just talked about. And so this girl, she was out of South Carolina, and she was involved in a classroom fight. And so there was also video that was accompanied with that. And so I'll basically kind of go down that road of what happened with this. So did bullying lead to the death of a fifth grade girl in the school fight? Here's what we know. Okay, so now with that, they did the same thing. They said that the girl had pre-existing injuries. She was 10 years old. She died in the school fight. And here's what we need to know. It says that the hospital had came up with conclusion that she had some other things going on. And this was a girl and her mother pictured here. And so her mother was not, and the family is outraged because they feel that there is more to the story. So here's what you need to know about Renaya Wright. She was a fifth grade girl who died after being injured in a school fight, but it was in the classroom at her elementary school in Charleston, South Carolina. And so 2 days after, the 10-year-old Renaya Wright was so severely injured in the classroom fight that she had to be airlifted to the hospital. The fifth grader died, according to South Carolina school officials. So Forest Hills Elementary parents gathered at the library of Walter Burroughs, South Carolina, Wednesday evening, where the conversation focused on the bullying at the school. Okay, so this was another story that was very similar. I'm going to see, I don't know if I switched it off so you could see that. And so I'm reading it, and actually, it's a sad situation because it did happen to another girl where she died in a school. And so um, I'm actually looking at it now, sharing it. So this was a similar situation, and this just happened. Now, I'm not going to read the whole story because I did that in a previous video, but they came up with a conclusion about this girl that her situation was pre-existing injuries, such as they did this new situation, which was at a middle school with a 13-year-old girl that's on life support. And so this was a fifth grade girl. She was 10 years old and she actually died 2 days later. And so they came up with a conclusion that she had had some other medical issues that were already happening. And so it sounds very similar. Now, I just want to tell you something. Now, me having knowledge of some of the school districts, a lot of times they protect the teachers, they protect the staff, they don't want to be held accountable for their negligence. They have a lot of lawsuits. And so a lot of times what they do, they'll find other excuses to kind of sweep things under the rug. And so I just wanted to give you that bit of knowledge that you have to watch these school districts because that's a whole nother animal in and of itself. There's a lot of things going on in these school districts that parents are not aware of. And a lot of times they're just really in it for the money. That many kids come in, and each kid they get school money for each kid that shows up. And so it used to be, I mean, back in the times when the kids' noses, if they were sick and they had any coloration of their nose where they had like mucus that looked like it was changing colors, they would right away they would send a note and say this kid has an infection. We need to take the kid to the doctor. They would do like this health check. Now you can't send the kids home unless they've had a fever as high as I believe almost maybe 101, 102. Or at least they have to show evidence of a fever to that extent, and then they call the parents. But who knows what can happen, because some kids can get to a fever and and have febrile seizures. And that's a seizure that you have that's induced by fever. And so I have seen this happen for myself. I've witnessed this that the schools will not call the parents, and then they call the parents at the last minute, and it's because they're more concerned about having as many students attend school to receive money for funding for the schools. And so it's not no more care about the kids, it's care about the money that goes into the schools. And so I know I'm sharing a lot more than probably what I should about this, but two, with incidences like this, they're going to find all the other excuses to write the school off to make it seem as though it's not the school's fault. It's not the school is not, you know, at fault for any of this. It's something's wrong with the kid. The kid had pre-existing injuries. Let's investigate. Let's investigate the students. And a lot of times, if it's a student that has had a history of being combative, they remove the kids from the school. They do the same thing with teachers that have a history. They remove the teachers from the school, and then that teacher is teaching somewhere else. That kid is in another facility. What probably they should have been like more of a restrictive environment, but the school will like kind of be negligent, or they'll like leave that situation until something happens, and then they'll try to clean it up. They'll do damage control, so to speak. And so this is a story right here that was very similar. This girl was bullied, and so there's a whole incident on this. And so it goes on to say that she was 10 years old. She died after the school fight. It says that Forest Hills Elementary School parents gathered at the library in Walterboro, South Carolina, Wednesday evening, where the conversation focused on bullying at school, which still does very well happen. And so this was a similar incident. So the school is yet to notify exactly because they don't want to get involved and be held accountable because the school is worried about being sued because they get sued on these incidences, which rightfully so, they should be sued. So the school has yet to notify any of the parents except the ones involved in something that happened. And we all found out on social media. Forest Hills parent Paige Garrison said, according to WCIB, people on social media are just saying a little girl had been bullied and the mom had been to the school and nothing had been done. And so the candlelight vigil of Renaya's memory has been scheduled for Thursday night, and it will be held at 6 p.m. in the Picnic Park. WCSC reported, so the second candlelight vigil will be held Friday, 7:45 p.m. Joseph Rainey Park, according to WCIB. The makeshift memorial of teddy bears, balloons, and flowers can be found near the school's marquee, and the state reported this. Okay, so the statement of the collection of county school districts says that the student has been suspended, but because of this ongoing investigation, we ask the community understands the information that we share is limited. And so on Thursday, a collection the county sheriff's office said weapons were not involved in the incident, CNN reported. And the incident reported released by sheriff office, Renaya's death makes no mention of bullying. And so it did list another fifth grade student as the suspect in the case listed as simple assault. Okay, so the collection of schools spokesman Sean Gruber said that he could not comment when asked by the Greensville News in the fight stemming from the bullying. So some of the community are making a connection of their own, including one woman with an SUV that was painted with a message, "Save our kids from bullies." The state reported. So the woman who owns the vehicle, Kimberly Uptergrove, told the newspaper that her child Renaya were playmates. And at Wednesday's evening meeting, collection county parents Tiffany Roberts said the school should have a safe haven for them, according to WCSC. So if they don't feel safe at home, they should be feeling safe at school. And we have not been seeing that lately. We've been seeing a whole nother picture of what these school districts have or don't have in place. Roberts, a parent of a 10-year-old in a collection, or Colton County Schools, said that to WCSC report. So school spokesman Gruber released a statement on behalf of the superintendent and said in part that the district is cooperating fully with the law enforcement as the matter is being investigated still. So Colleton County School Board held a special meeting on Thursday to discuss what happened in WLTX report. So the meeting was private and held almost entirely in executive session. Okay, and the only comment made when it finished was a prepared statement read by Chairman Tim Mabry, WCSC. Okay, reported. So the statement did not provide any details about what was discussed in the special meeting. So Forest Hills Elementary and our district as a whole have experienced a great loss. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Wrights family, and our district will continue to support them in any way possible, as well as offering support to students, community, staff, and dealing with the loss. So Mabry said, according to the TV station, so our board and districts have received multiple requests for information. So due to the ongoing investigation of student privacy laws, we cannot share any specific details at this time. We request that the public remain patient and focus on supporting the community during the time of tragedy. So when the meeting had adjourned, the members of the community voiced their displeasure over the lack of information shared after the waiting hours, according to the video tweeted. Okay, so by WHNS. So Colleton County Coroner Richard Harvey told McClatchy that the autopsy is scheduled for Friday for Renaya. So they did do the autopsy. And so I went into this, and this is pretty much what that whole thing was about. And I had read about this. Now, going back to the other situation, it's sad that this happened. I'm just telling you. So, and so this right here has to do with the 13-year-old that is on life support. And so we're seeing this here. So making the correlation here that there's a similar incidence. And so this one happened at a middle school to a 13-year-old who's on life support. And her mother is wondering where is the support for her and her child. Her child, she's probably going to have to bury. And so that's the sad part or revelation of this story right here. And so the 13-year-old girl's on life support at the Texas Children's Hospital 2 days after three girls attacked her outside of the middle school in Houston. So where was security? That's the thing I want to touch on. There's not enough security, and if there is security, they're not really being, I guess they're not really equipped. There's not enough security, or they're not equipped to handle these type of, school fights. And, we saw what happened in the Parkland shooting. They had security, and it was one guy, and he did not go in or intervene. It said that he actually retired, I believe. So that's a whole nother story in and of itself. And we've seen what happened with that situation. So, what about the safety of children in these public schools? Are they safe? Are they actually really safe from all of this? And so, anyway, with that being said, what is your thoughts and feedback on this? We have an incident that's very similar. A 13-year-old girl on life support, and she may be losing her life. And then a South Carolina girl who died 2 days later after a classroom fight, and they wrote it off very similar that it was pre-existing injuries. You know. So, with that being said, what are your feelings, your thoughts on this? This is a very scary revelation about these school districts. Do they have any security for the kids that you're sending there? Thanks for listening.